Welcome back to another episode of the Uplevel, your online business show with me, Sarah. I am doing a select amount of episodes just on pure video and on audio. So this is very new for me, and I'm just going to kind of see how it goes. The great thing about these episodes as well is I'm recording to you from my home office where I get to have an ocean view. Like I literally look out my window and I see the ocean. And I'm just so blessed and so happy to have this life. And I want to talk to you a little bit more about how I got here and how you can do something like this for yourself as well. And I also want to talk about this from the perspective of gender roles in in a family, because this is something that is kind of really near and dear to my heart. I have been an online business owner for over 8 years now. I've actually been doing this 8 years full time, which is so crazy to me to even think about because I still have dreams that I'm in back in my 9 to 5. And I'll be like, oh, I swear that I'm not there anymore. I think I moved. I think I did something else with my life. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh, yes, this is right. I am different. I am in a different environment. And it's a really, really great experience. So, what I want to talk about is really kind of the story about how we came here and how much of gender roles really are changing with our generation. Of course, I'm a millennial. And I just really do feel like it's time for us to create our own futures. And I really want to talk about my husband and I's process and experience and journey through entrepreneurship for me. And so starting back in when we were living in Toronto, Jorge was working in construction. And so when he eventually moved to Canada to be with me, which was a part of our process and a part of our own like personal story, he ended up working full time in construction. And so he was working in construction for about 6 years while we were living in Toronto. And he would leave the house at like 5, sometimes even earlier than 5 o'clock in the morning. And he'd really only get home between like 6 and 7 o'clock in the evenings. And it was a really hard experience. And I'm sure that a lot of people can really attest to this as well. And I would look at my coworkers who I was working in a 9 to 5 with, and they would kind of have very similar lives because they would commute really, really far away to be able to come to work, but at the same time to be able to afford a home in Toronto. And essentially what ended up happening really was that like I spent less and less time with my husband, which was not ideal. I mean, like that the whole reason why you are in a relationship with someone is because you want to spend time with them. And I knew from that experience that if we ever wanted to have a child, that I was going to take on most of the childcare. In fact, I was even taking on so much of the housework because he didn't really have any time to do anything else. And he'd come from home from work and he'd be so tired. And so I was doing the cooking, I was doing a lot of the cleaning, and I didn't love being in a gendered role in the house. I mean, I have no problems doing specific chores around the house, but I definitely didn't want to be the one who was subject to doing everything just because my husband was working a physically demanding job. And so I ended up kind of building a little bit of resentment over that as well. And it just got to a point where we were living this life that we didn't actually choose. It was kind of like a life that came to us, and I didn't want it anymore. I looked at everything that we had, and yes, I had this permanent full-time job and it had like really, really great benefits and it had gave me a lot of freedom. But then I was looking at what we created together, and I didn't like the amount that he was sacrificing just that we can be together, just that we can have our partnership. And so we can live a good life in Toronto. And so when we decided to move and quit our jobs and pack up our things, which is still like such a crazy thing that we did 8 years ago, when we decided to move, a lot of that was about getting him out of that specific job out of that career so he can actually focus on something that he wanted more. And I wanted to focus on something that I wanted more. I had a really great job. I wasn't complaining too much about my career, but I think a lot of what I wanted is I wanted us to exist as a family unit, as a partnership, having both of us doing things that we genuinely enjoyed. And if you ask him, he enjoyed construction. He actually really, really liked his work. But the long hours and the commutes and just all of those things that came along with it were a lot. And I could tell for myself as well, if we ever were going to start a family, I didn't want to exist in those household roles. And so one of the reasons why we quit and we moved was also because I just wanted him to have the space and of the time to be like, okay, what can I do? What can I like now that I have the space in the time to kind of figure things out on my own? What do I want to do with my life? And the fact that I went all in and the fact that I was able to kind of like create my moment for myself and really build up the systems in business and create a business model that sustained us. And when the fact that I took those risks meant that he could actually have the choice. And that was everything to me. So allowing him that choice was, I think, such a great moment and such a great experience for me. And of course, he doesn't like the whole term, like, I retired my husband, because realistically, I didn't, right? Like he still works, and I'll kind of explain that in a little bit. But a really big part of it was let me make enough money and let's invest in this entrepreneurial thing that I'm doing so that you don't have to do that thing anymore. And I have a lot of clients who come to me and they'll tell me the same thing. They'll be like, my parents work too hard, or my husband works too hard, or my partner works too hard. And eventually I want us to be more in sync as a family. It's not just about what you do. It's about what your partner does, right? It's about your entire family and how your entire family can experience freedom. You don't want to be the only person in your family experiencing freedom. You want your family to, right? You want to, if you have a partnership, you want to be able to go on holidays with your partner. And so when we moved to Nicaragua and when we moved to Esteli in specific, where we were living in the mountains for 5 years, finally, he didn't have to go to work anymore. He didn't have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning anymore. He didn't have to, commute until 7 p.m. And I was working from home. And so it just gave him such a beautiful opportunity to ask himself what he really wanted to do, which a lot of men don't get the opportunity to do, right? Even a lot of women don't get the opportunity to do that. But I feel like especially men in our society don't get that opportunity because they're just kind of forced into providing. They're just like, you don't have any other option. Like, you need to do this and you need to do this now. You need to do this for yourself, for your partner, for your kids, and also for your parents. Like, you're going to be the thing and the financial thing that holds everyone together. And it creates so much pressure on men that they have to just shove everything else about their lives to the side. They shove to the side their emotions. They shove to the side any pains that they have because they're just like, this is what I was born to do. If I don't do this, I'm a failure. And I took a look at all of that because my dad also had lived that life. And I took a look at all of that and I was like, well, what if we can do something different? What if we can create a different experience for our family? And because I took those risks and because he also supported me in taking those risks, now all of a sudden he had the opportunity to do something that he really wanted to do. He had the choice. He could make those decisions. And so that was just such a beautiful aspect of me choosing myself and me choosing my business and me going in and investing full on in my business, is that we also gave him the choice to decide what he wanted to do. And not only just the choice, because I think one, it was the choice, and two was financial opportunity. And so eventually it took him like a little bit to kind of decide exactly what he wanted to do, but me working and me providing gave him the opportunity to kind of see a few different things through. And he ended up starting businesses that he really loved. He ended up investing into specific areas where he was just like, okay, yes, this is the thing that I want to try out. And it's just such a luxury these days to be able to do that, right? Especially with kids, especially when you have so many other people to provide for. And now in our relationship, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to see him doing the exact things that he loves. And so I remember from the beginning, I'd always ask him, if you could do anything, if you could do anything, what would it be? And he would always say, I really want to own a place where people can sleep. So a bed and breakfast or a hostel or something along those lines where people can stay over and I can show them the beauty of my country, which is Nicaragua. And that's literally what he's doing. He gets to do that. He actually gets to do the thing that he's always wanted to do. And so now we own 3 Airbnbs that he manages, and he just absolutely loves it. And he's a super host on Airbnb because it's just brings him so much joy to do that. And he organizes tours, he organizes bookings, he organizes different things for his guests. And he has the opportunity to kind of do something that brings him joy. Of course, this also gives a lot of other men jealousy, which is really interesting. And it's really interesting existing in a society where it makes people feel really uncomfortable to see a man doing something that he actually enjoys doing. I find that really interesting that we allow women to do it. And so we allow women to kind of like have their hobby businesses and, like dibble dabble with different things. But men, for some reason, just kind of aren't allowed to do that. And it's been interesting to kind of just exist in all of this and just know that we're doing so well because my business is running really well. And I was able to create assets from my business that now he can manage, and it can bring him ultimate joy. And because we also live by the beach, because I have my ocean view, he has also decided to become a surf instructor. And so my husband went from this like full-time construction worker in Toronto, where he would commute, from 5 a.m. He'd leave the house at 5 a.m. He'd get home around 6 or 7 p.m. and he'd be completely exhausted, to now managing Airbnbs and surfing. I mean, I always tell people are like, oh, you're so lucky, or your life is like so incredible when they come over and they see everything that we've created. And I'm always just like, you know what? I'm the proudest of his life. Like, I'm proud of my own life too, don't get me wrong. And I absolutely love coming onto this podcast and serving my clients and doing all of the things that I do online. But to see him shine in what he loves to do, that to me just feels so fulfilling. And for all of the people who are listening to this, who really want to do something similar to a family member, it is such a great feeling. It is such a great feeling to help that person, to support that person, and obviously to have the business model where you can help that person do that. I just heard an influencer talk on a podcast about how her proudest moment in her career was retiring her mom. She retired her mom. She bought her mom a home right beside hers. And she was like, Mom, you're leaving. You're leaving this thing that you have hated for so long, and I'm giving you a better life. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to be able to do something like that for your loved one. And then it doesn't just become about you. It becomes about the people around you, because you are not, a silo. You are not just like one person. You're usually a part of some sort of family union, whether that's your mom, your dad, your spouse, your partner, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your kids. You want to make sure you're not creating success only for yourself. You're creating success for your partnership. You're creating success for your family. So what other areas of your family do you know that the success also needs to be for? That also helps to create even more motivation for you to stick to your goals and even take more risks with your goals. Because the minute that you take yourself so much more seriously in terms of what it is that you're doing, you create more of the motivation and the opportunity for you to actually do it. So being where I'm at right now, and even seeing my husband be able to take our kid to the beach on a Thursday afternoon, the middle of the afternoon, and have him be able to pick him up from school, drop him off at the bus stop. All of those things are just really incredible. So many dads don't get to do that. Even so many moms don't get to do that, right? And like, all the more reason to go all in. All the more reason to be like, you know what? I know that the odds aren't in my favor, but I don't care. I'm going to do this anyways. I'm going to try to do this anyways because I know that I'm capable. There are systems out there that I can learn in business that can help me to do this. And I'm not going to stop until I do it, That was literally me. That was literally me 8 years ago. And now here I am where I get to say these things. You know, I always tell people, I'm like, I feel like Jorge has the best life. You know, he's the one who really struck gold with all of this. I mean, we all did. My son did too, because now he gets a very present father. But that's also because of me. It's because of the work that I did. It's because of the work that we did as a family to get ourselves here. And I hope that that's the like lasting argument or the lasting piece that you really hear from this is you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for everyone around you. But at the end of the day, those people are also going to thank you because you believed in yourself enough to believe that it was possible for all of you, right? I'll leave you with that. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you would like to comment on it, if you want to like tell me your opinion on it, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on Instagram. It's at Sarah without an H, JLOUREIRO. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. If you enjoy our show and would like the show notes and free goodies about how to grow your online coaching business, head over to sarahjlorero.com for more information. We hope you'll tune in next time.